5. A time travel theme. Now, time travel isn't something that's new to Fortnite, so the possibility of us seeing it again, especially with map changes, is highly plausible. Back in the early seasons, we saw rifts appear around the island that teleported certain objects to somewhere unknown. At least it was unknown until we started getting a few items back. We saw carts spawn on the west side of the map that indicated the future desert biome we have now. Before Viking Village was a thing, a small anchor had appeared on the side of the mountain, giving us a clue to this Viking theme. But those few cases could have nothing to do with time travel in the storyline, right? It could just be a simple themed location inspired from a specific time zone. However, when the tomato had disappeared, it did have a whole time travel butterfly effect. The tomato had traveled thousands of years back in time to a tribe that saw this strange object and assumed it to be a deity of some sort, worshipping it to the point that it changed the very future of present of Fortnite's Battle Royale islands, like Back to the Future, except it created Tomato Temple and, yeah. Now, if we look at the more recent events at the giant glowing sphere at the Loot Lake Vault, we've begun to see it changing, emitting strange and eerie noises while appearing to be cracking as well. The main theory at the moment is that this orb is related to time travel. Why? Well, for one, it looks a lot like the same energy from the rifts, but compacted into a powerful mass, and for two, it's the energy source that powers the vault, having the ability to remove any item, weapon, or even location from the map and power to put it all back. So remember all those locations that were teleported away by the rifts all those seasons ago? Places like Moisty Mire, the prison, and the original Tomato Town itself. Well, what if this crackling orb will eventually break, releasing everything it's removed over the past? We could see a complete jumbled mess of old and new locations infused with each other. Just imagine the old and new tilted towers in some form of cross-hybrid. However, if it really is time travel, then it could include locations that we have yet to see. Prehistoric locations we never knew existed, that were long gone from the island when we found it in Season 1, but could somehow make its way back with this orb breaking. Number 4, the Nexus Orb Explosion. So if it isn't going to be time travel, what could it be? We know the orb is definitely breaking, but will it explode? Will it just break like glass and fall onto the floor in a really anticlimactic ending? Well, no, that would be fairly lame, and to be honest, it looks as though there's a ton of powerful energy all condensed into that small sphere, and the crackling around the edge actually looks like a shell that's trying to keep that energy contained. If the shell breaks, then I'm pretty positive all that energy is going to be released in some map-changing explosion. But we don't really know exactly what that energy does yet. We could assume because it's from the vault, it has the power to introduce and remove things from existence. But when we saw the battle go down, we saw both the monster and the mecha both trying to use this power. The monster never managed to get to it, but the mecha managed to actually absorb some of its power and increase his strength, landing a devastating blow. If they can absorb the power, then maybe we can too. Just imagine if that energy is released all over the map, with certain locations having energy objects that can give you a bit of extra speed or increased harvesting, like the old energy pyramids you make in Minecraft. Or what if it's all a master plan to give a story behind the reintroduction of Siphon? It would make sense, right? An energy wave washes over Battle Royale Island, giving all players the added ability of increased material gain and HP from kills, like some form of new power. Number 3 is the snow area could melt due to summer and flood certain areas of the map. What if we had like a tsunami? So this is something we've mentioned in the past, but now it's even more plausible than ever, considering the snow biome has been around for a good couple of seasons at least. And am I the only one that's gotten a little bored of running around this snowy environment where nearly everything is just white with a shade of blue and not much to change it up? It feels a little bit less lively whenever I'm at the snow biome area, as everything is fairly plain and all the same. But with IRL summer fully on its way, I would personally love to at least see some of that snow melt to make way for new map changes. The fact is that with a melting process like this, it opens up a ton of possibilities. It could melt away to reveal something new underneath, or simply to give us back places like Breezy Grove. Not only that, but if Polar Peaks does melt, we could see a whole bunch of new water areas added to the map. Though that water's got to go somewhere, right? But now it begs the question, would you like to see normal knee-deep water areas, or would you like to see the introduction of a completely submerged and underwater locations? And before you think that might be too difficult to do with all of the mechanics in Fortnite, all they would really have to do is have a low gravity effect enabled when you're in the water, the same one you get in creative and can use it in the playground. Would give you the same floaty feeling of being in water, but without having to muck around with new mechanics. I could actually imagine that orb exploding, and as that time-controlling energy wave hits polar peaks, it instantly transforms the iceberg into the water it used to be, causing a tsunami that crashes through the island and eventually drains out, leaving brand new map changes behind. There's so many different possibilities right now, and it's honestly anyone's guess, but what map changes would you bet on? Number 2 is the Skeleton Curse. So map changes were highly expected with an event like the one we just had, yet there weren't too many big changes. In fact, there weren't any too substantial. We saw minor buildings get wrecked and a few scenery objects like trees get wiped from the map, but other than that, Loot Lake having a giant floating orb, the only real change we had was the remains left behind by the defeated monster. The mecha thrust that soared straight through the eye and the head of this beast, impaling it into the ground and leaving its corpse behind as it flew off into space, with us left wondering if we'll ever see our savior again. Now, it's fairly obvious that by now that Fortnite most likely kept major map changes at bay due to the upcoming finals, but that doesn't mean it's over. A running theory at the moment is that when the monster was defeated and it instantly dissolved its outer layers, that an evil essence running through this behemoth soaked into the island, and that eventually, after major tournaments are done with, we'll begin to see the effects of this evil affecting the island. We all saw those giant green energy blasts that he shot out of his mouth, so we definitely know he has a form of energy within him, but whether the island soaked that up or not is a different matter. This has also led people to wonder if we'll see the reemergence of zombies again, but with that monster theme rising up from the ground from where his essence has crept through the earth, considering how much hate these fiends get from the community, I highly doubt that will actually happen. And for honorable mention number 1, we've got more futuristic maps. In pretty much every single battle pass, there'll always be a few clues as to what we'll be seeing the following season. It may come in the form of an item, but more often than not, we see them with the emblems, little pictures of dinosaurs or volcanoes that we had yet to see. However, the Season 9 Battle Pass either has a lot less or no one's figured it out yet. The current theory is going more towards a futuristic theme. Yes, I know we just got Neo Tilted and the Mega Mall, but we're thinking even more locations will be changed and possibly even take us even further to the future. Towards the end of Season 9, we've seen the Islanders take technological leaps. I mean, they just created a monster fighting mecha. They're not exactly in the concrete and brick ages anymore. So it would make sense that for Season 10, with the threat finally over, or so we think, that the Islanders will have the freedom to renovate a lot, if not the whole island. One of the final level 90 rewards is a Neo World music disc related to the Blade Runner films, and what especially catches my eye is the flying fancy disc you unlock in 68. The disc is pretty obviously inspired by a deadly futuristic sport from a film called Tron. In that film, the whole world is a pure futuristic neon heaven. Not just 1 or 2 points of interest, the whole place, so perhaps Fortnite really are planning to give us a whole new map after all. But what locations would you most like to see go or changed? Honorable mention number 2, can we just think about maybe the robot like returning? Where did he actually go? Now, I mentioned briefly before that we had no idea where our mecha friend went, and if you've thought of any ideas yourself in the meantime, be sure to let us know in the comments. And yes, we read them, but needless to say, I don't think anyone in the community has found any solid evidence on where this robot went. When you think about it for a moment, it's actually kind of screwed up. The Islanders built this mecha, and to be fair, it did its job in defeating the monster, but then it just flew off. Islanders left hoping another monster doesn't show up tomorrow. Then again, we do know it was in major need of repairs. The thing had its arm ripped off, so why didn't it go back to its normal station to get fixed? Perhaps there's something out in the Fortnite space that we just don't know about yet. Number 1 is the rocket event foreshadowing an entirely new map. So shout out to Sugi on Reddit for this theory post, because wow, is it a solid idea that makes way too much sense. Now, remember our first ever in-game event, the rocket launch? Well, the rocket appeared and disappeared in and out of rifts as it traveled around the island, and at some time, people predicted these locations would represent changes in the next season. To some part, we were all a bit correct, but not all those locations where the rocket was lifted changed in that season. In fact, they have all been changed if we're talking about present day, but it looks as though each area the rocket went has been changed one season at a time. A portal appeared above Moisty, and that whole area was removed in Season 5. Another portal above Loot Lake, and the area has been heavily changed since Season 6. Season 7 was all about the snow biome, and sure enough, just near Viking Village, we saw a portal for the rocket there. Now, Season 8's map changes in the northeast corner of the map didn't get a portal, but part of the rocket still landing near Anarchy Acres at the time, which changed to Lazy Links and now Lazy Lagoon. It's Season 9 now, and we got a couple new locations like Neo Tilted. And where did we see the first rocket portal? Oh yeah, that's right, above Tilted Towers. So that's all the portals and all the map changes laid out in a very coincidental pattern, and there was still one more portal? When the rocket went straight up and smashed the biggest rift of all into the sky, could this be representing the Season 10 map change? We've gone through every season, and if this final rift really is going to match up with the Season 10 map changes, then that suggests it's most likely going to be one of the biggest map changes we've seen so far, covering the entire island. Either way, all of these theories sound like big things are coming, and whatever's in store for us, I can't wait.